Adam Clark looked at the screen with wide eyes. The numbers and charts made no sense. He checked them again, then a third time. Each scan showed the same impossible results. "This can't be right," he whispered to himself. Adam was the chief scientist who studied alien life on the spaceship Horizon Seeker. The ship belonged to the Galactic Confederation, a group of different alien species who worked together to explore space. They had been mapping this part of space for 3 months now. Their job was simple: find planets where people could live. They had found many so far, some too hot, some too cold, but many just right. This planet, though, was different from any they had seen before. Adam pressed a button on his station. "Captain Bennett, could you come here, please? I found something strange." Captain Alice Bennett walked across the bridge to Adam's station. She was tall with short brown hair that showed some gray at the temples. Her blue uniform marked her as the leader of this mission. "What is it, Adam?" she asked. "It's this planet, Captain. The third one from the yellow star. The readings don't make sense." Alice looked at the screen. Her eyes narrowed as she read the data. "Run the scan again," she ordered. Adam did as she asked. The computer hummed for a moment, then showed the same results. "That's impossible," Alice said. The planet had temperatures that went from freezing cold to burning hot, air with oxygen that could make things catch fire easily, gravity that would crush most species in the Confederation, ground that moved and shook often, dangerous animals that could eat each other, huge storms with winds that could destroy buildings, harmful rays from its sun, tiny life forms that ate other life forms. "According to our system, this would be a Class 14 planet," Adam said. In the Confederation, planets were rated from Class 1, very safe, to Class 10, very dangerous. No one had ever found a Class 11 or higher before. A Class 14 was thought to be just a theory, a planet so dangerous that nothing could possibly live there. "Look at this part of the data," Alice said, pointing to another reading. "There are metal objects in orbit around the planet, and these patterns in the radio waves, those are signals. Someone built those things." Adam stared at the screen. "That's not possible. Nothing could evolve on a Class 14 world." Alice stepped back, her face serious. Apparently, something did. She turned to the communications officer. "Natalie, call the senior staff to the meeting room. We need to discuss this." Within minutes, the senior staff gathered around the large table. There was Science Officer Olivia Wright, Security Chief Ryan Murphy, Medical Officer Daniel Parker, and others. Adam showed them all the readings from the planet. "The gravity alone would crush most of us," Daniel said, "and the temperature swings would kill anyone without special equipment. Not to mention the oxygen levels," Olivia added. "That much oxygen means fires would start easily and burn hot." Ryan looked concerned. If something evolved in those conditions, they would have to be incredibly tough, possibly dangerous. And yet, Adam said, pointing to the screen showing orbiting satellites, "They built a civilization. They made technology. They're sending signals into space." "I've been listening to some of those signals," Natalie said. "They use many different languages. I'm working on translating them." Captain Bennett stood up. "Whatever lives down there, they've accomplished something incredible. They survived conditions we thought were impossible." She paused, looking at each person in the room. "But we need to be careful. Confederation rules say we must study a new species before making contact, especially one from such an extreme world. I recommend we send probes first," Olivia suggested. "Get more data before we decide what to do." Alice nodded. "Agreed. Olivia, prepare the probes. Adam, keep analyzing the planet data. Natalie, keep working on those signals. Let's find out who lives on this impossible world." As the meeting ended, Adam looked once more at the image of the blue and green planet on the screen. Something lived there. Something survived where nothing should. He couldn't wait to find out what. 3 days passed since the discovery of the strange planet. The crew of the Horizon Seeker sent small robot probes to learn more about the world below. The probes looked like small birds and bugs to avoid being noticed. Olivia Wright sat at her desk, surrounded by screens showing data from the probes. Her job was to understand the life forms on the planet. Her eyes were tired from working long hours, but she couldn't stop. What she found was too amazing. "Captain, I need to show you something," she said through the ship's communication system. Captain Bennett arrived at Olivia's lab a few minutes later. "What did you find?" Olivia pointed to the main screen. "The beings on this planet call it Earth. They call themselves humans." The screen showed images from cities around the planet. Tall buildings reached toward the sky. Cars and buses moved on roads. People walked on streets, talking and laughing. "I've translated some of their main languages," Olivia explained. "They have many different countries and cultures, but they're all the same species. How do they survive the conditions?" Alice asked. Olivia switched to another screen showing medical data. "Their bodies are amazing. Their muscles and bones are very strong because of the high gravity. Their lungs can filter out harmful things in the air. Their skin can heal from cuts and burns quickly. Their bodies can fight off the tiny life forms that try to make them sick." She showed more images of humans doing everyday things. They live in every part of the planet, in places with ice and snow, in hot, dry deserts, in wet rainforests. They've adapted to all of it. "Are they peaceful?" Captain Bennett asked. Olivia's face grew serious. "Not exactly." She showed images of wars, weapons, and soldiers. They fight each other often, but they also help each other. They build hospitals. They rescue people after natural disasters. They're complex. Ryan Murphy, the security chief, had joined them and watched the screens with concern. "If they evolved on such a dangerous world, they must be natural fighters. Look at their history, full of wars. Should we really risk contacting them?" "There's more," Olivia said. She showed new images of space rockets launching. They've already begun exploring space. They've visited their moon. They've sent robots to other planets in their system. They're looking outward. William Peters, the ship's historian, spoke up from where he had been quietly watching. "According to our records, no known species has ever evolved in conditions worse than Class 8. The fact that they exist at all breaks every rule we know about life." Captain Bennett studied the images of humans going about their daily lives. They don't even realize how special they are. To them, Earth is normal. "What should we do?" Ryan asked. Alice thought for a moment. "We need more information. We need to understand them better before we decide if we should make contact." "I have an idea," Olivia said. "We have technology that can make us look like them. We could send a small team to live among them and learn more." Ryan didn't like this plan. "It's too dangerous. If they discover who we really are, they might react badly." "We'll be careful," Olivia argued. "We need to see them up close to truly understand them." Captain Bennett nodded slowly. "I agree. But we need volunteers, and they need to be well prepared." "I'll go," Olivia said immediately. "Me too," said Kevin Rodriguez, a young biology expert who had been analyzing plant samples from Earth. "You'll need protection," Ryan sighed. "I'll go as well." Captain Bennett looked at the three of them. "Very well. You'll need new names and backgrounds. Study their culture carefully before you go. Remember Confederation rules. Observe only. No interference. No sharing of advanced technology." As the meeting ended, Olivia looked once more at the images of Earth. Soon she would walk among these impossible beings who had conquered a world that should have killed them. She couldn't wait to meet her first human. The small ship looked like a falling star as it entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside, Olivia, Kevin, and Ryan checked their new human bodies one last time. The ship's technology had changed their appearance completely. Their skin, hair, and eyes now looked human. Their bones were stronger to handle Earth's gravity. They even had fake identification and background stories. Remember your new names, Ryan said. I'm John Miller. Olivia, you're Samantha Lee. Kevin, you're Kevin Rodriguez. Why did you keep your first name? Samantha asked Kevin. It's a common human name, Kevin said with a smile. And I like it. Their ship landed in a forest far from any cities. It changed its appearance to look like a large rock. The three aliens turned humans set up their base inside the ship, hiding it with technology that made it nearly invisible. The next morning, they drove a car they had created based on human designs. They headed to a small town called Pine Creek. According to their plan, they would live in a house they had rented online. Their story was that they were researchers studying local wildlife. Everything is so heavy, Samantha said as she carried bags into their new home. Though they looked human, they weren't used to Earth's strong gravity. And loud, John added. Birds sang in the trees. Wind rustled the leaves. Cars drove by on the street. For beings used to the quiet of space, Earth was a noisy place. Over the next few days, the three aliens began to learn what it was like to be human. They went shopping for food. They talked to neighbors. They watched local TV to learn how humans acted. Kevin spent his days studying the plants and animals around them. The variety of life is amazing, he told the others one evening. I've identified over 200 different species just in our backyard. And the way they all depend on each other is so complex. Samantha focused on human culture. She visited the local library, went to a movie theater, and even attended a town meeting. Humans are so social, she reported. They form all kinds of groups: families, friends, clubs, religions, governments, and they have so many different beliefs and opinions. John spent his time watching how humans protected themselves. They built this town in a place that floods sometimes, he said, so they made walls to hold back the water. Their houses have systems to keep them warm or cool. They have medicines for when they get sick. Every part of their lives is about surviving this planet. One day, about 2 weeks after they arrived, Samantha came home excited. I made a friend today. Her name is Laura Garcia. She's a local paramedic, someone who helps people who are hurt or sick. Is that wise? John asked. We're supposed to observe, not get involved. We can't learn about humans without talking to them, Samantha argued. Besides, Laura knows everyone in town. She can help us understand this community better. Kevin agreed. As long as we're careful not to reveal who we really are, it's fine. The next day, Laura invited them to a community barbecue in the town park. The three aliens watched as humans gathered, cooking food over open fires, playing games, and laughing together. They seemed so happy, Kevin said, despite living on such a dangerous world. Maybe that's why they're happy, Samantha suggested. They know life is hard, so they enjoy the good moments more. John still looked worried. I just received a message from the ship. Another Confederation vessel has entered this solar system. It's the Stellar Enforcer, commanded by Admiral Hayes. Is that a problem? Kevin asked. John nodded. Admiral Hayes is known for following the rules strictly. If he decides humans are a threat, he might want to put Earth under quarantine. But humans aren't dangerous, Samantha protested. At least, not to us. They evolved on a Class 14 Deathworld, John reminded her. To many in the Confederation, that alone makes them dangerous. As the three watched the humans enjoy their simple celebration, they wondered what would happen when these tough, resilient beings finally met the wider galaxy. And they wondered if the Confederation was ready for humans. Back on the Horizon Seeker, Captain Bennett stood on the bridge, looking at the large ship that had just arrived. The Stellar Enforcer was 3 times bigger than her research vessel. Its dark metal hull was covered with weapons. They're hailing us, Natalie said from her communication station. Alice nodded. Put them on screen. The main screen lit up, showing Admiral Hayes. He was older with gray hair and a stern face. His uniform had many medals. Captain Bennett, he said, not smiling. Your ship has been in this system for nearly a month. That's against standard protocol for a research mission. We found something unusual, Admiral, Alice explained. A Class 14 planet with intelligent life. Hayes raised an eyebrow. Yes, I've seen your reports. That's why I'm here. This situation requires proper handling. We have a team on the surface studying the humans, Alice said. They're sending back valuable information. You put people on that death trap. Hayes looked shocked. Without proper approval. Captain, you've broken at least 5 Confederation rules. Before Alice could answer, Eric Foster, the ship's data analyst, rushed onto the bridge. Captain, I found something important, he said, then stopped when he saw the Admiral on screen. Hayes frowned. Continue, Analyst Foster. Eric looked at Captain Bennett, who nodded. He loaded his data onto a side screen. I've been comparing our star maps with the astronomical data from Earth, Eric explained. Look at where Earth is located. The screen showed 2 maps. One showed the known galaxy where the Confederation species lived. The other showed Earth's location. That's impossible, Hayes whispered. Earth was in a part of space called the Void, a region the Confederation had always avoided. The Void had too much radiation, too many exploding stars, and too many asteroid fields. It was considered completely uninhabitable. We've always gone around this entire sector, Alice said. We thought nothing could live here. But humans didn't just survive. They thrived. On the main screen, Admiral Hayes was quiet for a long moment. This changes things, he finally said. I need to see all your data on these humans. Eric spent the next hours sending all their information to the Stellar Enforcer. Meanwhile, Captain Bennett called Daniel Parker, the ship's doctor, to the bridge. How would humans compare to us physically? She asked him. Daniel pulled up his medical data. They're stronger than most Confederation species because of the high gravity. Their bones break less easily. Their skin heals faster. Their immune systems fight off diseases that would kill us. And mentally, Hayes asked from the screen where he had been listening. They're creative problem solvers, Daniel said. They have to be to survive on Earth. They adapt quickly to new situations, but they're also emotional. They care deeply about each other. Hayes nodded slowly. I'll be honest, Captain. When I came here, I was planning to quarantine this world. Confederation rules say any species from a Class 10 or higher planet should be contained until we know they're safe. But, Alice asked, but I've never seen a Class 14 before. I didn't think it was possible. And I've never seen a species survive in the void. Hayes looked troubled. We need more information before making a decision. Suddenly, an alarm sounded on both ships. Natalie checked her instruments. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy surge from Earth, she reported. They just tested a nuclear weapon. Admiral Hayes stood up. You see, they're already developing weapons that could threaten the Confederation. They've had nuclear weapons for decades, Alice argued. They use them rarely, and mostly for power generation now. Hayes shook his head. I'm sorry, Captain. I need to report this to Confederation High Command. Until they decide what to do, Earth will remain under observation. No one goes in or out. As the Admiral's image disappeared from the screen, Alice turned to her crew. We need to warn our team on the ground. Things just got more complicated. Samantha, Kevin, and John didn't know about the problems in space. They continued their work in Pine Creek, learning more about humans every day. One morning, the ground began to shake. Pictures fell off walls. Windows broke. People ran outside of buildings. Earthquake. Someone shouted. The 3 aliens had studied earthquakes, but never felt one. The violent shaking surprised them. Earth's crust was always moving, but usually humans didn't notice. This time was different. We need to help, Samantha said, watching people run around in fear. John reminded her of their rules. We're here to observe, not get involved. But then they heard a scream. A building nearby had partly collapsed. Laura, their human friend, ran toward it. "There are children inside the daycare center," she yelled as she passed them. Without thinking, the three aliens followed her. Inside the damaged building, they found Laura trying to lift a fallen beam. 5 small children were trapped behind it. "I can't move it," Laura said, her face red with effort. John looked around. No other humans were there to see them. He stepped forward and easily lifted the heavy beam, his enhanced strength making it possible. Laura stared at him in shock, but quickly helped the children crawl through the opening. As they got the last child out, another aftershock hit. Part of the ceiling fell toward them. Kevin pushed Laura and the children out of the way. A large piece of concrete hit his arm, breaking it badly. A normal human would have screamed in pain. Kevin just looked annoyed. Outside, as emergency workers took care of the children, Laura pulled the 3 aliens aside. "That was impossible," she said to John. "No human could lift that beam alone. And you," she pointed to Kevin, whose broken arm was already starting to heal, "should be crying in pain right now." The 3 aliens looked at each other. Their cover was blown. "We need to tell her," Samantha said. John didn't like it, but he agreed. They took Laura to their house, away from other people. "You're right," Samantha told Laura. "We're not human." Laura laughed nervously. "What does that mean?" "You're not making sense." Kevin held up his arm, which was already looking better. "We're from another world. We came here to study humans." Laura's eyes widened. "You're aliens." She looked like she might run away. "We mean no harm," Samantha said quickly. "We're scientists, like I told you. We just didn't say we were studying humans themselves." Laura sat down heavily. "Prove it." John touched a device on his wrist. His appearance flickered, showing his real form for a moment. Taller, with slightly blue skin. Laura gasped. "Why Earth?" she asked after a long silence. "There must be more interesting planets out there." "That's just it," Kevin explained. "Your world is special. We call it a Class 14 Deathworld. It's the most extreme planet we've ever found with intelligent life." "A Deathworld," Laura repeated. "You mean Earth is dangerous?" "To most species in the galaxy, yes," Samantha said. "The gravity, the weather, the diseases, the natural disasters like today's earthquake. Most civilizations evolved on much safer worlds." Laura started laughing, surprising them. "So we're basically the tough guys of the galaxy, living on a planet that would kill everyone else." "Basically, yes," John said, not seeing the humor. Laura's laugh faded. "Is that why you're really here? Are we considered dangerous because our planet is?" The 3 aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. "Some in our confederation think that, yes," Samantha admitted. "Any species that evolved in such harsh conditions must be aggressive and dangerous. But we're here to learn the truth." "And what have you learned?" Laura asked. Kevin smiled. "That humans are much more than survivors. You create art and music. You help each other. You dream of the stars. And now," John added, "we have a problem. Our leaders just detected a nuclear test on your planet. They're concerned." Laura looked serious. "So what happens now?" "We don't know," Samantha said, "but we need your help to show them the truth about humans." On the Horizon Seeker, Captain Bennett argued with Admiral Hayes. They had been talking for hours, and neither would change their mind. "These humans deserve a chance," Alice insisted. "You can't just lock their planet away because you are afraid of them." Hayes shook his head. "It's not fear, Captain. It's caution. Look at their history, full of wars and violence. They fight each other constantly. What would they do to species weaker than themselves?" "They also help each other," Alice countered. "After that earthquake, they didn't run away. They ran toward danger to save others." The Admiral sighed. "The Confederation High Command agrees with me. Until we know more about humans, Earth will remain under observation. No contact allowed." Alice knew she couldn't win this argument. Not yet. What about our team on the surface? They need more time to complete their research. They have 1 week, Hayes said firmly. Then they returned to the ship. After Hayes left, Captain Bennett called her senior staff together. We need to convince him that humans aren't a threat, she told them. Eric, what else have you learned about Earth's location? Eric brought up his star maps again. Earth isn't just in the void. It's at the edge of 3 different danger zones. Their sun is more radiation active than most life-supporting stars. Their solar system has more asteroids and comets that could hit planets, and they've survived at least 5 mass extinction events in their history. So they're not just surviving on a dangerous planet, Alice said. They're surviving in a dangerous neighborhood of space. Exactly, Eric agreed. And instead of making them aggressive, it's made them adaptable. They solve problems in creative ways. Natalie spoke up from her station. Captain, I'm receiving a message from our team on Earth. It's encrypted. Put it through to my office, Alice ordered. The message was from Samantha. Her face looked worried on the small screen. Captain, we have a situation. During an earthquake, we had to reveal ourselves to a human named Laura Garcia. She saw John lift a heavy beam and noticed how quickly Kevin healed from an injury. Alice frowned. This was exactly what she didn't need right now. Samantha continued, but Laura isn't afraid of us. She wants to help. She says humans would be excited to learn they're not alone in the universe. She thinks most people would welcome peaceful contact. Admiral Hayes doesn't see it that way, Alice told her. The Confederation is considering quarantine for Earth. That's not fair, Samantha protested. They haven't done anything wrong. They exist on a Class 14 world, Alice explained. That alone makes many species nervous. The High Command thinks any species that evolved in such conditions must be naturally aggressive and dangerous. They should meet Laura, Samantha said. She risked her life to save children she didn't even know. How is that dangerous? Alice thought for a moment. Maybe they should meet her. Can you bring Laura to your ship without being seen? I think so, Samantha replied. But what good would that do? I have an idea, Alice said. Admiral Hayes needs to see humans as people, not just as potential threats. If Laura could speak to him, tell him about human culture and values. She'd be the first human to make official contact with aliens, Samantha realized. Exactly. It's risky, but it might work. Alice looked serious. But first, she needs to understand what she'd be getting into. The Confederation includes over 30 different species. Meeting them would be shocking for any human. I'll talk to her, Samantha promised. She's stronger than you think. All humans are. Later that day, Samantha, Kevin, and John explained the situation to Laura. They showed her pictures of different alien species and told her about the Confederation. They're afraid of us, Laura asked, looking at the images in wonder. Most of them look more scary than humans. It's not about looks, John explained. It's about where you evolved. Earth is considered extremely dangerous. Laura thought for a moment. So they want to keep us locked up on our own planet because we're tough enough to live here. That's not fair. Will you help us? Samantha asked. Will you speak to them? Laura looked at her 3 alien friends. Of course I will. Someone needs to tell them the truth about humans. That night, Laura walked with her alien friends through the dark forest. The moon was bright enough to light their path. They were careful to avoid being seen by other humans. Are you nervous? Samantha asked. Laura nodded. Of course I am. I'm about to become the first human to officially meet aliens. That's a big deal. You've been meeting aliens for weeks, Kevin pointed out with a smile. You just didn't know it. They reached the hidden ship, and John removed its camouflage. The small craft appeared where moments before there had been only rocks and trees. Laura gasped. It's smaller than I expected, she said. Inside, John prepared to take them up to the Horizon Seeker. Laura buckled into a seat, her hands shaking slightly. What will I say to them? She asked. I'm just a paramedic from a small town. I'm not a world leader or a scientist. That's exactly why you're perfect, Samantha said. You're a regular human. You show what humans are really like, not just what your leaders say in speeches. The small ship lifted silently into the night sky. In less than 10 minutes, they left Earth's atmosphere behind. Laura pressed her face to the window, watching her planet grow smaller. It's beautiful, she whispered. I never thought I'd see Earth from space. Soon, they approached the Horizon Seeker. The research ship was waiting on the far side of the moon, hidden from Earth's telescopes and satellites. Next to it was the much larger Stellar Enforcer. That big one looks like a warship, Laura said, pointing at the Admiral's vessel. John nodded. It is. Admiral Hayes commands it. The one who wants to quarantine Earth. Laura frowned. He brought weapons to our solar system. Standard procedure, John explained. All Confederation ships that might encounter unknown species carry weapons, just in case. Their small craft docked with the Horizon Seeker. Captain Bennett was waiting for them when they stepped aboard. Welcome to the Horizon Seeker, Ms. Garcia, Alice said formally. You are the first human to officially board a Confederation vessel. Laura looked around at the alien technology. Everything was smooth and glowed with soft light. The air smelled different, cleaner somehow. Thank you for having me, she said. But please, call me Laura. Alice smiled. Laura it is. Admiral Hayes will be joining us soon. Are you ready to speak with him? As ready as I'll ever be, Laura replied. What exactly does he want to know? He wants to understand if humans are a threat to the Confederation, Alice explained. Many believe that any species that evolved on a world as dangerous as Earth must be naturally aggressive. They worry that if humans spread to other planets, they might be hostile. That's not fair, Laura protested. You can't judge us just by our planet. I agree, Alice said. That's why you're here, to show them who humans really are. A few minutes later, Admiral Hayes arrived on the bridge. He was tall with gray hair and a serious face. When he saw Laura, he stopped and stared. So this is a human, he said, studying her carefully. You're smaller than I expected for a Deathworld species. Laura stood straight, trying to look confident. And you look surprisingly normal for an alien. Hayes raised an eyebrow. You're not afraid. Should I be? Laura asked. I've been friends with 3 aliens for weeks now. They've been nothing but kind and curious. Tell me, Laura Garcia, Hayes said, sitting down across from her. Why should the Confederation trust humans? Your history is full of wars. You build powerful weapons. You fight over resources and beliefs. Laura thought carefully before answering. Yes, we fight. We have to be tough to survive on Earth. But that's not all we are. She took a small object from her pocket and handed it to Hayes. It was a child's drawing, colorful and simple, showing people holding hands around a globe. One of the children we saved during the earthquake drew this for me, Laura explained. Even our youngest understand that we're all in this together. We care for each other. We heal each other. We dream of a better future. Hayes studied the drawing. Dreams don't change the fact that you evolved on a Class 14 Deathworld. You're naturally equipped to survive conditions that would kill most Confederation species. That makes you dangerous. It also makes us strong, Laura countered. Not just to fight, but to build, to heal, to explore. We could be powerful friends to the Confederation. Hayes didn't look convinced. Words are easy. I need proof that humans aren't a threat. Captain Bennett spoke up. I have an idea. A test that might satisfy both the Confederation and give humans a fair chance. 1 week later, a strange object appeared in Earth's orbit. The world's space agencies noticed it immediately. It wasn't a satellite or space junk. It didn't match anything they had seen before. News of the mysterious object spread quickly. People around the world watched the sky, wondering what it meant. Some were afraid. Others were excited. Everyone was curious. In secret, World leaders received a message. The message explained that the object was a test. It held advanced knowledge inside, but it was protected by a complex puzzle. How humans approached this challenge would decide their future in the galaxy. Scientists from different countries gathered together. They studied the object from Earth using telescopes. They sent small robots to examine it up close. They worked day and night trying to understand what it was and how it worked. Laura watched all this from the Horizon Seeker. She stood with Captain Bennett, Samantha, Kevin, and John as they observed the human response. "They're working together," Laura said proudly. "Scientists from countries that don't always get along are sharing information and ideas." Admiral Hayes joined them, watching the screens with careful eyes. "Yes, but what will they do if they solve the puzzle? Will they try to use the knowledge as a weapon?" On Earth, the scientists made progress. They discovered that the object responded to certain radio signals. It was like a lock waiting for the right key. But the key wasn't a simple code. It was a complex pattern that changed constantly. "It's testing their problem-solving ability," Kevin explained, "but also their patience and cooperation." Days passed. The scientists tried hundreds of approaches. Some failed completely. Others showed promise but didn't work fully. Still, they kept trying. In the past, they might have given up and tried to break it open or destroy it, Samantha observed, but they're being careful and methodical. "Because they recognize its value," Laura added. "They know they can learn from it." Finally, after 3 weeks of work, the scientists made a breakthrough. They realized that changing patterns matched certain mathematical sequences found in nature, the same patterns seen in tree branches, river networks, and blood vessels. When they sent these natural patterns back to the object, it responded. A soft glow surrounded it, and it began to transmit data to Earth. The data contained information about clean energy, medical advances, and sustainable food production, not weapons or war technology. It was knowledge to help humans, not harm others. On the Horizon Seeker, Admiral Hayes received a message from the Confederation Council. He read it silently, then turned to the others. "The Council has made their decision," he announced. "Earth will not be quarantined. Humans are classified as a Class 14 adaptive species, the first in our records." Laura smiled. "What does that mean?" "It means we recognize that your evolution on a Deathworld has made you strong, but not necessarily dangerous," Hayes explained. "You're now cleared for official first contact and potential membership in the Confederation." "When will that happen?" Laura asked. "Soon," Captain Bennett said. "The Council wants to proceed carefully, introducing the idea of alien life gradually to prevent panic." "Most humans will be excited, not scared," Laura insisted. "We've been imagining meeting aliens for centuries. And we've been avoiding your part of space for just as long," Hayes admitted. "We were wrong about humans. Your adaptation to hardship has made you innovative and resilient, not just aggressive." 1 month later, Laura stood in a field outside Pine Creek. Samantha, Kevin, and John were with her, along with Captain Bennett and even Admiral Hayes. They watched as large ships descended through Earth's atmosphere, ships whose occupants once thought such conditions impossible to endure. Around them, government officials and selected scientists waited nervously. News cameras broadcast the event worldwide. It was humanity's official first contact with alien life. As the ships landed and the doors opened, Laura stepped forward to greet the Confederation representatives. "Welcome to Earth," she said with a smile. "We're sorry about the gravity, the oxygen, and all the germs. But the food is good, the music is better, and the people are worth knowing." The aliens stepped cautiously onto the grass, feeling Earth's heavy gravity for the first time. They looked up at the blue sky, feeling the wind on their faces. "It's not so bad," one of them said. And humanity took its first step into a much larger universe.